Greetings, everybody, wherever you may be, and welcome again to Kourou, the home of the Ariane family, for today's live broadcast of Arianespace flight number 215, a double launch for two old friends, India and EUTELSAT, and a new friend, Qatar, because we're launching the first satellite for that country. Joshua Jample here with Antoine Courtois, a data analyst with Arianespace. Hi.
Greetings everyone. I'm absolutely delighted you're joining us from all over the world. And tonight, in our small commentary booth, we feel like many are with us.
And with all of you who are with us, we're going to take a look first at the launch vehicle. She stands roughly 50 meters tall, basically in two parts. The lower composite consisting, as you can see, the main stage and the two boosters, which are strapped on either side. And the upper composite?
According to orbital positioning requirements, the upper composite differs from one Ariane 5 to another. Here it consists of a cryogenic upper stage called the ESCA, on top of which the two passengers are awaiting liftoff, safe and sound under the fairing, which provides them a carefully controlled environment.
We'll be describing each stage in turn as it's functioning. We're coming to you live, as always, from Jupiter Mission Control Center, taking a look at the people who make the mission happen. First, Arianespace's High Command, Stéphane Israël, you saw.
And supported by Louis Laurent, Patrick Loire, and Edouard Perez, they are the four aces of the Mission Control Center tonight.
And what's their role?
They are the highest technical authority, and should any problem arise during today's countdown, these people will make the final decisions as what to do about it. Their teams across the base report to them in real time, and you will see them on the phones all along the chronology.
Our launch window tonight, 50 minutes, an average length. We have plenty of time. We had a look at the launcher. Now for a look inside the fairing at the payload.
The upper passenger will be operated by Qatar. EUTELSAT 25B SIL-1 is a modular platform offering high-power capability and flexibility for a broad range of applications. This spacecraft will be separated first.
And you can see by the numbers, the lower passenger is the lighter one. Lighter passenger usually separated last, and it is the case tonight. We are launching from the French Guiana base, where the first Ariane, Ariane 1, went up way back in December 1979.
And a close-up now on the Arianespace project managers for EUTELSAT 25B SIL-1 is Beatrice Romero, and she is presently seated with customer representatives from Qatari Air Force and EUTELSAT.
We're going to go over to Stéphane Israël, Arianespace's chairman and CEO. You saw him earlier. There he is again. He is going to have some opening words on tonight's mission, and we'll be back with more. Don't go away.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our sixth launch of the year from the Guyana Space Center. For these two-day missions, Ariane 5 ECA is set to deliver into an optimized geostationary transfer orbit two telecom satellites, EUTELSAT 25B SIL-1 for both SILSAT and EUTELSAT, and GSAT-7 for the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. Our launcher will carry a total payload mass of 9.8 tons. It will have a window of 50 minutes to liftoff, opening at 8:30 p.m. Universal Time. This mission will last less than 35 minutes. As with our previous launch in July, Ariane 5 will offer an additional service tonight, optimizing the target orbit inclination at 3.5 degrees as requested by our customers to increase the life of both satellites. I would very much like to thank SILSAT for giving Arianespace the opportunity to offer Qatar its own access to space by delivering its first satellite into orbit. It is the beginning of a new success story for Qatar, and Arianespace is honored to be able to make a contribution. Moreover, EUTELSAT 25B SIL-1 is another in the series of birds to be launched for EUTELSAT throughout 30 years of uninterrupted partnership, beginning with the launch from the Guyana Space Center of EUTELSAT 1F1 in June 1983. It is for all of these reasons that Arianespace is so proud to operate this mission. I would also like to express my gratitude to ISRO, the Indian Space Agency, for placing its confidence in Arianespace once again, just 1 month after the successful launch of the INSAT 3D meteorology satellite on July 26, also in a dual mission performed by an Ariane 5 ECA. GSAT-7 is the 17th satellite to be delivered into orbit by Arianespace for ISRO. Arianespace is honored to be responsible for this new launch mission, symbolizing a 32-year-old partnership with one of its oldest and most faithful customers. Our 71st Ariane 5 is now being readied for launch, so enjoy the show.
You should be able to enjoy the show because we have clear skies and we should have good visibility at liftoff. We're going to go back inside Jupiter to look at the project managers.
The project manager is Arianespace interface with the customer. His job is to handle contractual and financial affairs. Here we just came back inside on GSAT-7 side.
Coming up, a roadmap of what you're going to see tonight, a resume of the mission high points.
After providing the main thrust, the boosters will be discarded when they have used up all their propellant. Less than 1 minute later, the fairing is released. 6.5 minutes later, the main stage finishes its job and is also cast off. The upper stage engine then ignites. It will provide the remaining thrust necessary to complete the mission. The upper passenger will then be released. It had been held by a structure called cylinder. With the upper passenger gone, we don't need it anymore, so it is jettisoned next. Finally, the lower spacecraft will be released and Ariane's job is done.
We are coming up on the -7 minute mark, which is a key milestone in the countdown.
de DDO, attention pour la séquence finale lanceur.
You're going to hear the DDO, that's his voice. The range operations manager is going to call out.
Top. H0 moins 7 minutes.
And he just did the 7-minute mark, the final moments of called the automatic sequence. Why important?
We have now passed a major milestone in the launch chronology. In the final 7 minutes prior to launch, the computers are taking over from people as we get close to liftoff, which means onboard and ground computers are running their final controls, and hundreds of parameters are currently being validated and confirmed for authorizing liftoff and then the flight.
And for the flight, every Arianespace mission has its own preparation campaign. We've got a short film coming up now that'll show you how the vehicle is put together.
Most elements that make up Ariane 5 come to the space base by ship. Assembly begins in the launcher integration building, where the main stage is erected vertically. The two solid boosters are transported to the launcher integration building for assembly on either side of the lower stage. Then the upper stage is integrated onto the lower stage. At this point, she is moved to the final assembly building.
The satellites arrived by plane. GSAT-7 came on July 11th and EUTELSAT 25B is HALE-1 on the 27th. Their preparation began in different buildings but in parallel with the launcher's assembly. Preparation includes weighing and testing by special teams in clean rooms. With these tests completed, they were filled with propellant in early August.
Arianespace, with its customers, takes over the final preparation. These are called combined operations. Arianespace and its customers meet daily to review all activities. These meetings give the green light to make the two passengers atop the launcher. They are transferred to the final assembly building, where the launcher is waiting for them.
GSAT-7 was placed on its adapter in the lower position atop Ariane 5. It will be separated last. Then EUTELSAT 25B is HALE-1, wrapped in the fairing, was hoisted atop the launcher. It will be separated first. The day before launch, the now complete Ariane 5 is rolled out on the rail track to her position on the launch pad. That gives you an idea of some of the complex procedures that must be carried out here for each launch. Other key players on the satellite side now, we're going to see the satellite mission directors here for EUTELSAT Israel. What's their role?
The Satellite Mission Director, or DMS, is the customer interface with Arianespace. He is the one deciding in the final chronology if a satellite is ready for launch, which is the case tonight. And as you can see in the faces, they are very concentrated since the launch represents the most delicate phase in the life of a satellite.
Tonight is the 215th Ariane mission since the program began, and the 71st Ariane 5 to fly. Satellite mission managers on the GSAT side now.
Together, the two passengers weigh 9.2 tons, and tonight's mission is possible using the heavy lift Ariane 5, the only commercial launcher on the market that's capable of delivering such a heavy payload.
This version of the Ariane is mainly for commercial launches to what we call geostationary orbit going east. There's another version which is used for sending payloads into low Earth orbit towards the north, like we did in June when we launched the ATV. Some 1,500 people working around the space base in all. Our cameras are here in Jupiter mainly, which is the heart of the action, but other people are at work in many other sites. This is one of them. This is the Launch Operations Center. What's happening up here now?
There are three main teams which are working together. One is responsible for operation, a second for flight readiness of the Ariane launcher, and a third team follows the countdown from a quality point of view according to the established process. The launch operation manager heads up the first group. It is Rafael Broda tonight.
And for the second team?
It is headed by the Arianespace production manager tonight, and for his first time, Frédéric Daugeron.
There are in all up there about 120 people working in launch control. They're closer to the pad than we are. We're about 15 kilometers away. They're much, much closer. Just over 2 minutes to go until the mission begins. Ariane 5 lifting EUTELSAT 25B, SHIEL-1, and GSAT-7. We're going to get another look at the green status panels, which we saw them earlier, but briefly. They summarize all the activities needed to launch, and we check them from time to time before liftoff. You have a brief minute, there they are on the left, to tell us about what they stand for.
It's a bit like a dashboard in a car. They tell the status of all the systems needed for a launch, which means the launch base, telemetry, weather services, flight safety, rider tracking, and of course, the launcher and the two satellites.
Now, these panels must all be green in order to give a final go or a green light, if you will, for launch, and you can see that's the case. So to sum up, if I may, we go basically when the satellites, the launcher, and the base are ready. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely.
All right, you see the yellow bars on the center of the screen? Those are the propellant feeder arms, and this is a split screen close-up image of it. We want to just take a minute and explain. Go ahead.
They are putting propellant into the upper stage tanks, liquid hydrogens line on the left and liquid oxygen on the right. You will see the arms being pulled back at 5 seconds before ignition.
It's one of the last things that you're going to see before liftoff, so we just want to take a few seconds to explain. So watch for that. We're coming up on the 1 minute mark shortly, and you'll hear the DDO again, the Range Operations Manager, will announce it. Things are happening at -1 minute.
At that moment, the launcher will be running on its internal power sources, and the final safety barriers will be removed.
Attention pour -1 minute.
DDO will call out the 1 minute mark, and we'll be into the final 60 seconds.
Top. H0 -1 minute.
All right, Antoine, can you explain the final ignition sequence? You said it starts when the cryogenic arms pull back. What do we watch for then?
At H0, the DDO calls allumage Vulcain, the ignition of the main stage cryogenic engine. But we do not lift off yet, because there will be a 7-second wait while the onboard computer is checking the performance of this main engine. After, if all is well, it will give the order to light the two boosters, and we are off.
All right, so watch for that. Watch for the arms to swing back at -5 seconds. We'll cut away now, and we'll let you hear the DDO, the Range Operations Manager, call out the final 10 seconds. Enjoy the liftoff.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top. Allumage Vulcain. Allumage EAP, décollage. Tous les paramètres bord sont normaux.
back as scheduled. We had ignition. You saw it. Ariane 5 beginning her mission, rising off the ground here in French Guiana with a lot of fire, beginning her 4th flight of the year right on time at 17:30 local, carrying EUTELSAT 25B, SHAIL-1, and GSAT-7. Under me, you can hear the DDO's voice saying that all is well on board. Fine shots of a daytime launch, which is not always the case, always impressive no matter how many times you see Ariane powering up into the sky.
A launch is something quite sensational to witness. Right now, the boosters are providing over 90% of the total thrust, propelling the launcher along its trajectory at ever higher velocity.
Weight at liftoff over 770 tons, which is a lot. She's burning 5 tons of fuel per second, which is also a lot. 2.5 tons in each booster, if you can imagine. And the core stage, the central stage, burning another 300 kilos of fuel every second.
Ariane 5 is now following the flight program in the onboard computer, which gives all the commands, including stage separations.
We're in the first of 4 flight phases. The first 3 are powered, and the last is not. We'll be describing each in turn. You can follow Ariane as she heads east across the Atlantic.
Right now, in the first flight phase, the Vulcan engine and the 2 boosters are burning. The boosters will burn each their 240 tons of propellant in just under 2.5 minutes. And they have the first we get rid of. You will hear the DDO call out that milestone.
In just about 10 seconds. We're heading east, as we said, out over the ocean. The decision to build the French Guiana base here was made in '64 when France wanted a new base, in part for its opening on the water to allow for launches over uninhabited areas. And there you see the boosters. They're the 2 lights on either side. They have been separated, and the light in the middle is the main stage continuing to burn. That's what it looks like up there with the onboard camera. There's another booster which is out of camera range. The onboard computer detects the drop in fuel and separates them. Is that right?
As they had no more propellant to burn, the thrust decreased and the onboard computer detected the drop in acceleration, and therefore it decided to separate them.
Fine shots. As we mentioned, the sky is so clear. You could see the first stage continuing to burn. Give us a look at the on the upper left, on the lower left of the screen. You have a cursor crawling up there, and then you have some numbers.
We're expecting the fairing separation in a few moments.
Go ahead with
the curves represent the expected trajectory, and the moving white dot is the actual position of the launcher. Below, there are 2 items to look at. A stands for altitude in kilometers and V for velocity in kilometers per second.
We've had separation of the fairing right on time. That's what it looks like. There's another half which is out of the camera range. There are 2 pyrotechnic cords, 2 sets of pyrotechnic cords, I should say, that separate the fairing, right? In an explosion.
Yeah, but it is very important to emphasize that this small explosion is controlled.
So no threat to the vehicle. But is there a reason we separate the fairing now?
Of course, because we are out of the dense layers of the atmosphere over 100 kilometers of altitude. There is neither friction nor heating anymore, so we discard any dead weight when possible to maximize the launcher's functional operation.
We are into the second powered flight phase. Remember, there are 4 phases in all. The boosters have done their work. Only the single engine burning now, which you saw earlier in the sky. It'll burn for 9 minutes. What's the role of the main stage?
The key parameter is kinetic energy, so increasing speed is paramount. We did just dispose of drag by coming out of the atmosphere the fastest we could. Now we can be focused on pure thrust. By using highly efficient propellant, which is true enough with cryogenic ones, we can benefit from not only a significant propulsive force, but what is more, for a long duration. And let's say too that the main stage has also been designed to have the best available performance-mass ratio.
There are 2 different propulsion systems on Ariane 5. The cryogenics used in this stage more efficient than the solid propellant, basically. That's the difference, that are used in the boosters. More of the mission in a moment, all is well. But first, the latest news from Arianespace. July 25th, Ariane 5 successfully placed into orbit 2 new satellites. AlphaSat for Inmarsat, the heaviest telecom satellite ever made in Europe, and INSAT 3D, a weather satellite for India. It was the 5th launch of the year for Arianespace and the 3rd Ariane 5 mission of 2013.
The next Soyuz mission is set for September 30. It will put into orbit the next 4 satellites in the O3b constellation. The first 4 were launched on the Soyuz from the CSG on June 25th.
And the following Soyuz flight is slated for later this fall. It will launch Gaia, which will map the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Gaia arrived here in French Guiana on August 23rd and began preparations for her mission.
And closing out the year in December, the final Ariane 5 mission will put another pair of telecom satellites into orbit, Astra 5B for Luxembourg's SES group and Amazonas for A for Spain.
Arianespace's Stéphane Israël went to India on one of his very first visits abroad as chairman and CEO. On the trip, he took a close-up look at the Indian Space Research Organization facilities in Bangalore. He also met with Dr. Radhakrishnan, chairman of ISRO.
Arianespace remains the market leader. Over now to Jacques Breton for a recap of our commercial activities and a look into the future.
This evening's launch illustrates the commercial success enjoyed by Arianespace in Europe and in France, with customers such as EUTELSAT, but also on the export market with loyal customers such as ISRO in India. There again, we have ambitious newcomers on the telecoms market, such as EUTELSAT in Qatar. Arianespace has over 4 billion euros worth of contracts today, mainly on the export market, 90%, with some 80 customers throughout the world on all 5 continents, whether we're talking about private operators or government organizations. This year, Arianespace has already signed the equivalent of some 700 million euros worth of contracts. Next week, there'll be a further announcement made at the Euroconsult conference in Paris, and with that, we should go beyond the 1 billion euro level for contracts, still respecting the 90% level for the export market. So see you next week in Paris at the Euroconsult conference, and you will hear more.
All is functioning normally on board. We're about to be picked up by our first downrange tracking station over the border in Brazil, a town called Natal. All of Ariane's trajectory has been designed to be followed from the ground. DDO is saying that we're being picked up by Natal now. The launcher is sending radar and telemetry back, and a network of stations are keeping watch. Now, as a data analyst, you know all about telemetry. What is it?
This is the complete launch vehicle data. Information on 1,500 parameters is being collected and transmitted back to the ground stations.
What kind of parameters are you talking about?
Indicators of Ariane's health and performance in flights, coming from pressure, shock or temperature sensors, but also from accelerometers.
And they record all her functions?
Everything before the flight.
So that is you, analyze some of this data in real time and other data, I imagine, after the flight, and you do that in your office at Galileo, which is near here to Jupiter.
The quick look telemetry display allows us to check a few main parameters concerning propulsion, piloting and trajectory, but we also provide the customers immediate information about spacecraft orbital diagnosis when separation occurs, and the complete post-launch analysis is performed about 1 week after the launch.
There you have right on time the separation of the lower stage. The onboard computer orders its extinction and its separation. You can see what that looks like. And then it orders the ignition of the upper stage, all in about 11 seconds.
We are now into the third and final powered fly phase, a 16-minute burn for the upper stage. However, its roll don't stop after cutoff, since it will also give the required orientations for the spacecraft, but we will give you further explanations later.
If you just joined us, you're watching Arianespace flight number 215, the fourth Ariane 5 of the year. We're now in the second half of the Ariane mission. We can start focusing on the satellites. The first film now on our first passenger with a look at EUTELSAT 25B SI1.
I introduce you Arlene Cassillan, EUTELSAT 25B SI1 Program Manager for EUTELSAT. And we would like to learn more about this spacecraft and about EUTELSAT partnership with the new Qatari operator SILSAT. Good afternoon, Arlene.
Good afternoon, Beatrice.
Could you please tell us when and why this partnership with SILSAT was born?
The partnership between EUTELSAT and EUTELSAT Communications started 3 years ago, based on a joint commitment to invest in and operate the dual-band satellite located at 25.5 degree east orbital location.
And which is the main mission and the market that SILSAT and EUTELSAT target for this spacecraft?
So in addition to securing the EUTELSAT continuity business at 25.5 degree east, the satellite will provide both partners with an expanded mission, giving wide coverage and high power across Middle East, North Africa and Central Asia. It will serve a large number of applications in KU and Ka band, including video broadcasting, GSM backhauling, enterprise communications, and government services.
And EUTELSAT 25B SIL-1 has been manufactured by SSL in Palo Alto based on a 1300 platform. And this is the first time for EUTELSAT. Please tell us more about the experience with your new industrial partner.
So it was indeed a challenging experience for EUTELSAT for several reasons. As you said, it is our first experience with SSL technology and processes. In addition, the satellite included some important technical developments. The top floor assembly with the 4 steerable is one of those. So we can say that in the context of a new American supplier in California and the partnership with our Qatari colleagues, it was a very enriching experience for all teams involved.
And 3 other EUTELSAT satellites are currently on our Arianespace manifest, so we hope to see you back here in the Arianespace Center very soon. What will essentially remain from your experience of this launch campaign?
So a launch campaign is always challenging, but this one, it was very intense. All the teams involved in the beginning of the campaign, the 27th July, when the satellite arrived in French Guiana, were focused toward the common objective to have a successful launch today. So I want to thank all the team, SSL, Arianespace, CSG, and EUTELSAT, of having so efficiently performed during this launch campaign to reach this objective today.
12 minutes to go in the upper stage burn.
Josh, do you know about the symbolism of the name SI?
Tell me.
It is actually the name of a star which becomes visible in the night sky of the Middle East as summer turns to autumn. Its sightings bring happiness because clement weather is therefore coming.
Good. Qatar, Europe, and the US are all involved in the STAR project. It's a joint program dating from 2010 to operate a satellite from a EUTELSAT spot. The contract to launch with Ariane was signed last year. And in our next film, we'll look at EUTELSAT and hear from its CEO, Michel de Rosen.
Tonight's launch is about a new satellite that strongly reflects EUTELSAT's commitment to long-standing industrial and strategic partnerships. It is our 27th launch with Arianespace that has delivered EUTELSAT with reliability and flexibility since our inaugural launch 30 years ago. Ariane will achieve a new first with this mission. It's 6.3 tons. This is our heaviest satellite ever launched. This launch is also historic because it culminates a 3-year journey with EUTELSAT, our Qatari partner, since we sealed a strategic alliance to pursue a groundbreaking satellite program. I take this opportunity to thank those at EUTELSAT, EUTELSAT, and Loral who have invested many thousands of hours in this program, and to greet the teams at Loral in Palo Alto who are waiting to take control of our new satellite and manage its first steps in space for both our companies. To all, thank you very much.
While you were watching the film, we were picked up by our next downrange tracking station, Ascension Island in the Atlantic. It's a tiny spot out there in the South Atlantic, 10 square kilometers, belongs to the UK. NASA had a station there till 1989, and they closed it, and ESA decided to build its own. It's now run by a private English firm, I do believe. The stations after Ascension are in Libreville, Gabon, and then in Malindi on the east coast of Africa. In the next film, you learn all about EUTELSAT operators of Qatar's first satellite.
بالنظرة الثاقبة لسمو الأمير الوالد جاء مشروع سهيل، وبرئاسة سمو الأمير الشيخ تميم بن حمد آل ثاني حفظه الله تمت بداية المشروع. سهيل سوف يساعد قطر على البث التلفزيوني والاتصالات الفضائية باستقلالية وبنوعية مميزة وبتغطية جغرافية واسعة. سهيل سوف يدعم رؤية قطر 2030. كذلك سهيل سوف يقوم ببناء بنية تحتية آمنة لقطر ولتلبية احتياجات فيفا 2022.
القمر الصناعي سهيل واحد كما هو معروف هو أول قمر صناعي لدولة قطر. تم بناء هذا القمر الصناعي إلى أحدث التكنولوجيا المتوفرة في قطاع الأقمار الصناعية، يعمل على زيادة القدرة على عدم الاختراق أو عدم التشويش، يساعد المشغلين القطريين أو المشغلين المحليين والمشغلين في منطقة الشرق الأوسط وشمال أفريقيا على تحقيق مبدأ الاستقلالية وتوفير خدمة نظيفة ومستمرة وبدون انقطاع. يساعد القمر سهيل واحد على توفير ساعات قمرية إضافية محتاج لها السوق حالياً في هذه المنطقة. نهدف كذلك السعي إلى سهيل 2 وسهيل 3 وسهيل 4، ليس فقط سهيل واحد.
سهيل تطور مذهل لقطرنا الحبيبة التي تستحق دائماً منا الأفضل.
I have another question on telemetry, Mr. Data Telemetry Man. We sometimes have a brief loss of telemetry, and that's the case tonight, but it's normal, right?
Telemetry signal loss can be sometimes expected according to launcher position. However, we don't lose the information since it is stored on onboard memory, then sent thereafter.
Okay. Coming up next, a film on Space Systems Loral of California, builders of EUTELSAT 25B ISRO 1.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station Libreville au Gabon.
The satellite is the 42nd payload built by SSL, launched by Arianespace. The two firms are celebrating 30 years of collaboration, but they're not alone.
The project is also a nice way to celebrate 30 years of partnership between Arianespace and EUTELSAT. 2/3 of the EUTELSAT fleet has been orbited by Arianespace. EUTELSAT 25B ISRO is the 27th EUTELSAT launched by Arianespace.
And the company, of course, is happy to help make Qatar a space power. The nation is the 34th new entrant in the satellite communications sector to give Arianespace its first launch. It's the first in the series of 4 satellites you're planning. The next 2, we are told, might be smaller, perhaps in the 3-ton region, this one weighing over 6 tons, but of course all that is still being reviewed. Turning to our second passenger, GSAT-7, here's the first film on ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization.
The GSAT satellites are the communication satellites. belonging to the legendary club of Indian National Satellite System and are the backbone to India's satellite communication. Since 1983 until today, they have been an instrument to a major revolution in the SATCOM industry. Of these, GSAT-7 is the nascent addition to the heritage of GSAT satellites. It is a feature-packed satellite and is all set to fly high, to take the communication scenario a step ahead.
Currently, India has a satellite communication infrastructure of 9 satellites built by ISRO, including the GSAT-8, GSAT-10 and GSAT-12 satellites that were pressed into operational service during the recent years. There is a plan to build 14 more communication satellites, essentially, to augment its capacity to meet the growing needs, to enhance the capability to introduce newer services, and to stay contemporary in technology.
The GSAT-7 is a multi-band satellite and offers multi-beam coverage facility. This essentially means that it shall support a wide spectrum of communication services from low bit rate to high bit rate. This will include voice communication services, data and fax services, audio-video communication services, and a variety of internet services for specific applications.
The GSAT-7 satellite is a multi-band satellite operating in UHF, S, C, and KU bands, and providing a footprint over the Indian landmass and the seas surrounding us.
The services shall be available for both fixed and the mobile users. The C-band and the KU band will support video conferencing and internet connectivity, whereas KU band will also support downlink of high-speed data to the fixed Earth stations. The MSS payload will support the handheld terminals for messaging and the suitcase-type terminals for two-way communications.
GSAT-7 represents a major advancement in the technological capability of India in terms of satellite communications and for providing space-based services.
Needless to mention that the services that shall emanate from this multi-band, multi-featured satellite of India shall put satellite-based communication to the newer heights.
During that film, we were picked up by our last downrange tracking station in Malindi in Kenya. It receives Ariane 5 data the longest and see the ESCA burnout as well as satellite separations and finally the upper stage passivation phase. All the telemetry data picked up by the downrange tracking stations are to be sent by telecom links to the telemetry processing center in Toulouse in order to start post-flight analysis.
We are waiting currently for confirmation of the upper stage cutoff. That's due in just about 15 seconds, I would say. Then the two separations will be occurring at plus 27 minutes for EUTELSAT 25B SHIL-1 and at 34 minutes for GSAT-7. You can see on the left our altitude is well over 900 kilometers. The first passenger is set for separation at just over 1,000 kilometers. You see the nozzle shutting down on the upper stage, so we're now in the final flight phase and we're coasting, no more power.
The upper composite begins a series of maneuvers along the three axes in order to reach the scheduled payload pointing characteristics, and the precise injection of a spacecraft means a lot in terms of performance, but also impacts the lifetime of a satellite.
EUTELSAT 25B SHIL-1 will be replacing EUTELSAT 25C, which will be moved to another slot. EUTELSAT and Arianespace are celebrating 3 decades of partnership, and that's the subject of our next film.
3-axis maneuvers ongoing. They are possible thanks to 4 packs of small thrusters on board the upper stage. They burst cold gas coming from the pressurization system of the SCA tank. Presently, we're not looking for strength anymore, but we need high precision. That's why the thrust is 1,000 times less powerful than the one of the upper stage engine.
And you can see the thrusters popping on and off with the white on the screen there on what's left of the composite. We're waiting for confirmation of separation of the first passenger, EUTELSAT 25B SHIL-1, due right about now. There it is. Separation. Sometimes there is a slight delay, a décalage, as they say in French, between the telemetry coming in here and the DDO's announcement. This is the scheduled separation time. You see how that happens. The ship is pushed away.
EUTELSAT 25B SHIL-1.
You see it's come in now. That's quite normal. So the first good news, successful delivery of our upper passenger, EUTELSAT 25B SHIL-1, separated over the east coast of Africa. Now that it's separated, what will be its first operations?
Acquisition will be in about 15 minutes and solar array deployment after 1 day.
There will be 4 apogee motor firings on the 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th days.
After that, side reflector deployment in 6 days and top floor reflector deployment in a week, and arrival in its in-orbit testing position in 10 days.
All these operations managed by EUTELSAT. The company has 30 satellites in its fleet, covering 150 countries and growing. It just acquired SatMex in July. You may have heard that in the news, the Mexican operator. And recently opened offices in Johannesburg, Singapore, and Tampa. In 10 seconds, we have the CILDA separation coming up. That's the carrying structure.
A composite cylinder on top of which the upper passenger is fastened. It lets us launch a second passenger by shielding it from the rigors of the liftoff and the flight.
Now you see the scheduled time again, the normal delay of the telemetry coming in here. The DDO hasn't announced it yet, but that's the way it's happening up above our heads. The CILDA, the black bell-shaped structure, pushed away from the mothership. And we can turn to GSAT, because that's the satellite you see there on the left. Tell us about ISRO.
ISRO's main goal has been to develop space technology and its application to national tasks. Since 1969, when it was founded, ISRO has established space systems like INSAT for telecommunications, TV broadcasting, and weather services.
They also developed their Indian remote sensing satellites and launch vehicles, not everybody knows, for smaller satellites, PSLV for polar and GSLV for geostationary orbits.
GSAT-7 is the 17th ISRO satellite launched by Ariane. The first was launched in 1981 and was an experimental satellite called Apple. The last went up just last month. It was INSAT 3D on July 26.
You remember what flight Apple was on and how much it weighed? Because that's the quiz question tonight. Arianespace quiz question number 215. ISRO's first satellite Apple went up in 81. Which flight and how much did it weigh? I'm sure many people at ISRO and Arianespace know this. You got an idea of the answer?
We have to call a friend.
That's cheating, but since it's your first time, I'll let you do it. If you do, hold on to your answer if you ever get one, and we'll give it to you in a moment. In our final film tonight, we'll take a look at the long and fruitful relationship between ISRO and Arianespace.
For more than 30 years now, India has been entrusting Arianespace with the launch of its satellites, which makes ISRO one of our oldest and most loyal customers. A little over a month ago, Arianespace launched a meteorology satellite, INSAT 3D, for the Indian Space Agency. Over the years, a special relationship has developed between Arianespace and our Indian friends. Each is fully aware of the specificities of the other, which of course goes a long way to facilitating mission preparations. Today, we'll be launching GSAT-7, a telecom satellite, for ISRO, the organization in charge of developing and operating national Indian satellites.
GSAT-7 is one of the important and prestigious spacecraft which India and ISRO in particular are waiting to be launched. GSAT-7 is a communication spacecraft in multi-band and multi-beam. GSAT-7 payload system consists of UHF, S-band, C-band, and Ku band. C-band and Ku band communication systems have multiple beams to enhance the bandwidth requirements. The Ku band, we have a mesh processor system on board to have the communication between the 4 beams. This mesh processor can be programmed on board by using telecommand. I am proud to be project director for this prestigious spacecraft. I thank higher management of ISRO to giving me the responsibility. And I also thank one and all in Arianespace, who we had a very pleasant working atmosphere. Arianespace and ISRO relationship goes back to 1981, where we launched Apple. And now here we are with the 17th mission launching on VA215, this GSAT-7. Thank you.
Well, if you just joined us, we have had successful separation of our first passenger and of the Silda. Where are we now?
We are witnessing the pointing and 3x stabilization required by GSAT-7 for our positioning before separation. Finally, the spin up to 45 degrees per second in order to start the passivation phase, but we won't see this phase on the screen.
Passivation empties whatever fuel remains in the tanks, is that right?
This phase will last roughly 1 hour long, and valves are kept open in order to clean the pressurized tanks of the upper stage. We have to avoid any hazard for people or equipment and master the upper stage end of life. This way, it will be quietly burning up during the atmospheric re-entry and without blowing into pieces.
Waiting now for word on separation of our final passenger, GSAT-7, due up in about 10 seconds, roughly. Again, one of those moments of high concentration for everyone here. Tonight represents months, sometimes years, of work for some of the people here. You can see the concentration, the mood in Jupiter are very focused. Although most of the people have gone through this before, it's still a very, very intense moment.
Focused but confident.
Focused but confident. We're waiting for the first satellite has been separated. Its team's already at work on the first operations. We're waiting for confirmation, which again
Séparation du satellite GSAT-7.
Delayed, but finally you have it. The good news. You hear the applause. Ariane 5 successfully separated her second passenger, GSAT-7, and right on target. And you heard the people in the hall here holding their applause after the first satellite separation for congratulations exploding in the hall for everyone. So from those tense minutes just moments ago, you can see the change here in Jupiter, very buoyant, all across the Space Center and all the points and posts where people are working or following the launcher, and the satellite work just beginning or soon will be at the different ground stations for GSAT and at the other sites around the world.
And this is echoed around the world at all the outposts and offices where people involved in both satellites are following the happy outcome of events.
As with EUTELSAT 25B SHILE 1, let's take a look at GSAT-7's first maneuvers. We have already had first acquisition.
The ascent station is near to where Ariane is presently flying, and solar array deployment has already occurred 20 seconds after separation.
Which sounds remarkable, but it's nothing new for ISRO. They've been doing it for years. It depends on the mission, of course, but they're saying in future they can even do it sooner. There will be 3 apogee motor firings for GSAT-7 in 26 hours on the 2nd and 4th days.
After that, the station acquisition in 1 week, then antenna and reflector deployment will follow, and the payload will be turned on in 15 days.
We're waiting now for the traditional post-launch speeches. We'll be hearing from many people, leading off with Stéphane Israël, Chairman and CEO of Arianespace, Qatari Minister, the French Minister, ambassadors, people from EUTELSAT and from EUTELSAT, I believe. These gentlemen and ladies present today will be making their ways out from the fishbowl in the front part of the room here to join us in Jupiter. The podium microphones being set up. Mr. Israël is making his way, I believe, to the microphones. Did you get the answer to the quiz question while we're waiting?
Yes, I do.
On what flight and how much did Apple weigh?
It was on Ariane 1, flight number 3, and the weight was 670 kilograms.
You're absolutely right. Did you cheat?
Yeah.
You did. All right. Well, you still get to watch the launch replay, even though you cheated, which is coming up. For all of those of you out there who played along and you got the right answer, give yourselves a round of applause, and you get to launch a replay, which is coming up while we are waiting for the speeches. Here's your replay. We'll be back with the speeches. That's just one replay. Very often we have several of them because there's several observation sites here, and we should be back with more.
Such beautiful images.
This one, I believe, from Tucson, which is the closest site. We've had 2 daytime launches in a row. This is something. Back in Jupiter, we're waiting for the microphones. There's a big crowd around the podium. I can see Stéphane Israël, and there is Mr. de Rosen is down there. Things are getting underway. The handshaking, as you can see, the congratulations all around. Cigars, no doubt, will be forthcoming, and champagne, and the post-launch celebrations will be getting underway. It's a big moment for Qatar as their first satellite goes up. They're very proud, and we congratulate them. Earlier this year, Ariane launched the first satellite for Azerbaijan also. So it's Ariane doing its work to bring new entrants into the fields of space technologies and space telecommunications, playing a role as it has been for the last 3 decades. We will be hearing also, I mentioned it'll be Stéphane Israël will be speaking first, and then we'll be hearing from the Qatari minister, Dr. Hessa Al-Jaber, who is here with us in the room, and from Mr. Ali Al-Kuwari, who's the CEO of EUTELSAT, and Michel de Rosen, we mentioned, of EUTELSAT. He's here. You saw him in the film. We'll be hearing from the Indian ambassador, Mr. Singh, and from Dr. Shiva Kumar of ISRO. Joel Bar of the CNES also will be making his way to the podium for a speech. And I believe also the French Minister for External Commerce, if I have the title right, hopefully I do, Nicole Brick, who is also here. There's a big crowd. There's a big crowd. There's a cigar. There's a couple of cigars. Do you smoke? You smoke cigars?
Yeah, sometimes.
You have to go down and get one there. That's a tradition here with the
Yes,
the
always. Sometimes you can see also hats.
Hats and T-shirts and things. There's a big crowd around the podium, as you can see, because we have the ministers and our other distinguished guests are speaking before the press. I think that's probably Qatari TV down there, which is, they're interviewing Madame Al-Jaber. So they're meeting the press before they come to the podium here to talk to the people in the crowd here. Jupiter building is in 2 parts, as you've noticed. There's what we call the fishbowl, which is where the technical people and the operational people and representatives from Arianespace, European Space Agency, and the French Space Agency, and along with the customers, of course, are working. That's in the wall behind this group. And then on this side of the fishbowl,
that's a nice picture.
You have the VIPs and the invited guests, and here there's the VIPs from Qatar. So, the news from Kourou, once again, Arianespace has delivered with 2 new satellites going up. 4 old friends. Old friends are Indian friends with GSAT-7 and ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization. And old friends of EUTELSAT, 30 years. They're 27th. Did you say there's the 27th EUTELSAT?
Yes, I did.
And old friends at SS Loral, the 42nd SS Loral. Payload. So a big night here in Kourou, and I have not seen a crowd like this around the podium before the speeches in quite some time. I do remember when we had the first Vega launch that the gentlemen and ladies who were going to make their speeches had a difficult time getting to the podium because there was a huge crowd of people.
2 words to sum up the moment: proudness and happiness for Qatari customers.
It's a big night for them. The celebrations will be forthcoming in Doha, no doubt, and in Bangalore, and of course all over the world, where the offices and the operational people on all sides will be sharing in the good news of the happy events and beginning work. You see the gentlemen on the phones, gentlemen from GSAT on the phones, no doubt, with their people at Hassan and Bangalore and elsewhere, getting the latest information. And Dr. Shiva Kumar told me this morning that he says, if you see me on the phone, I'll be getting the confirmation of that solar panel deployment, which we mentioned was only 20 seconds after separation, which was quite remarkable. These pictures, no doubt, going back around the world to Hassan, to Bangalore, to Doha, and elsewhere, where the celebrations will be forthcoming. We will probably have 1 or 2 more replays. There's the French Minister of External Commerce with Joel Barr. We'll be hearing from both of them. Michel de Rosen is the tall gentleman on the right. We'll be hearing from him.
The mission director, Didier Said. Did a great job.
He's an Arianespace person, isn't he? Yeah, and he works with the DDO, who is a CNES person, a CSG person. So a symbol of cooperation in the European space effort. You have all the nations and all the companies working side by side. We're still waiting, folks, for the speeches because everybody's so happy and taking commemorative pictures that they may have forgotten all about the speeches. Do you think that's possible? That they would skip the speeches tonight?
I don't know.
Because a lot of people who have a lot of things to say, we mentioned, I think there's 9 of them. We mentioned Stefan Israel and Dr. Al-Jabbar, Ali Al-Kuwari, Michel de Rosen, Mr. Singh, the Indian ambassador.
You get the
Shiva
sound
Kumar.
from
There's the ambient sound from the hall.
You can taste it.
Joel Barr and Nicole Brick, the minister. Can you see Stefan Israel down there?
I'm looking for him, but
he's nowhere near the microphones.
So much crowd. Yeah, I see, with Jacques Breton, the Vice President of Commercial and Sales Activities of Arianespace.
Since its creation, 83 customers have signed with Arianespace. The company has launched more than half the commercial satellites currently in service and maintains over 50% of the global market share, over 60% in the Asia Pacific. I think things might be quieting down a little bit. We may be able to get to the speeches after all.
Perhaps you were right. Forget.
You think it's possible? Stefan Israel, I can see he seems to be making his way closer toward the microphones. While waiting, here's another replay. shots are beautiful, particularly when Ariane passes through some low clouds and then rises up into the blue sky. The visibility was better than we expected. This morning we had some low clouds, but they dissipated rather early on in the afternoon. And we did have fine visibility, and we saw with the naked eye, we saw the two boosters, which were separated. You remember that, with the two little dots of light on either side, and the main engine burning in the middle. Stefan Israel is closer to the podium. He seems to be making his way up there. The press and the photographers seem to have taken over down there, however.
Has never been closer than now.
He's closer. He's at the podium now. He's with Joel Barr. And he's tapping the microphones. I think we're ready for Mr. Israel. And I believe the next voice you will hear will be that of the chairman and CEO of Arianespace, Stefan Israel.
Ladies and gentlemen, so ladies and gentlemen, dear ministers, Mrs. Nicole Brick and Her Excellency Dr. Essa Al-Jaber, dear Ambassador, His Excellency Arun Singh and His Excellency Mohamed Jeham Al-Kuwari, Mr. Prefet, dear elected representatives of French Guyana, distinguished customers and guests. After 57 successes in a row of the heavy lift Ariane 5, it is once again with great pleasure and pride that Arianespace announces the successful delivery of our customers' satellites. Tonight, EUTELSAT 25B, SAL-1, and GSAT-7 are now traveling on their desired geostationary transfer orbits for a life that I hope will be long and prosperous. I would like first to thank all those who have contributed to this new success. This success which has not occurred by chance, but by professionalism and by the highest quality possible. The Arianespace teams, our launcher prime Astrium, our ground industrialists, CNES and the CSG teams involved in today's missions, and I should not forget our satellite manufacturer. As you know, some people take vacations in France and in Europe in August. Obviously, I can tell you it was not the case of the teams here in French Guyana who have worked for this success. Tonight is a very special evening for Arianespace. We can celebrate both the long-standing relationships we enjoy with EUTELSAT and ISRO, and also the beginning of what I hope will be another long one with SALSat. Indeed, EUTELSAT 25B SALSat-1 is SALSat's first satellite. SALSat, like more than 80% of new entrants in the satellite communication industry, has chosen Arianespace to start its journey to space. I would like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Ali Ahmed Al-Kuwari, Chief Executive Officer, for having entrusted Arianespace with the launch of this pioneering mission for Qatar. Ali told this morning that SAIL is the name of a star which becomes visible from Qatar around this period of the year. Ali, it was an additional reason for Arianespace to launch on time. Let's hope the new SAL-1 lives up to its name, leading to further successes for SALSat. My warmest regards go as well to His Excellency Mohamed Jeham Al-Kuwari, Qatar Ambassador in France, for his continued support to our activities with SALSat. Thank you very much. For sure, I would also like to express my highest gratitude to Her Excellency Dr. Essa Al-Jaber, Qatari Minister for Communication and Information Technology, who has honored us with her distinguished presence tonight, thus testifying to the close economic ties between France and Qatar. You made the choice to come from Doha, and we are really grateful to you for that. Thank you very much. Qatar is now a space power, and Arianespace will always be at your disposal for your future projects. Come back to Kourou whenever you want, and enjoy the beginning of a wonderful weekend, because I know now the weekend can start in Doha. Thank you very much. EUTELSAT 25B SL1 is EUTELSAT's first satellite. It is also the 27th satellite launched by Arianespace for EUTELSAT in the frame of a long-term partnership which celebrates this year its 30th anniversary. Arianespace and EUTELSAT are linked by a multi-launch agreement. We already have 3 more satellites to launch for EUTELSAT. You can see how much EUTELSAT matters for Arianespace. This is the reason why I really want to thank personally Michel de Rosen, EUTELSAT Chief Executive Officer, for being with us tonight at the CSG and for his renewed trust. Michel, you have so many satellites in orbit that you cannot always attend the launch. And so I know that you have made the choice to come tonight. You have made it because the partnership with EUTELSAT is very important for you. You have made it because you knew that we had 2 ministers with us tonight, Nicole Brick and Dr. Essa Al-Jaber. So really, Michel, thank you very much for coming. By the way, congratulations for the brilliant acquisition of SatMex. So I hope the friendship story between EUTELSAT and Arianespace will last for many years. I have certainly not forgotten Space Systems Loral, the EUTELSAT 25B SATSAT-1 manufacturer, with whom we have performed 42 missions since October 1983. I am glad to see that there are no fewer than 10 more satellites to come. And I want to thank personally Mr. David Bernstein to be in CSG with us tonight. We met in Palo Alto before summer. I had the opportunity to see the satellite, and now they are in orbit. So thank you very much to you, David. Thank you very much. Long-term partnership. I can think of no better way to refer to our friends of the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO. GSAT-7 is indeed the 17th satellite launched by Arianespace for ISRO. This long-standing cooperation dates back to the very beginning of the Ariane adventure, with Apollo's launch in June 1981 on the 3rd Ariane 1 flight. This new success occurs 1 month only after our last Ariane 5 mission for ISRO on July 26. This summer, working with ISRO teams has, as ever, been a great pleasure. Let me express my personal gratitude to Dr. Radhakrishnan, ISRO's chairman, who is following us from Bangalore, for his continued trust, and to Dr. Shivakumar, director of the ISRO Satellite Center, ISAC, for his presence here tonight. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency Arun Singh, India's ambassador in France, who honors us with his presence tonight at the Jupiter Control Center, for the active role he plays in support of Franco-Indian cooperation in the space sector. You know that this year, French President François Hollande had the opportunity to go both to Qatar and to India, so we are so happy to have you, Qatar and India, with us in the CSG tonight. So thank you very much for ISRO for this long-term partnership. Before concluding my speech, I wanted to say what an honor it is for Arianespace to welcome to CSG Mrs. Nicole Brick, French Minister for Foreign Trade. Minister, I believe that tonight's launch has provided you with an excellent overview of Arianespace international activity with satellite operators from Qatar, Europe, and India. As you know, around 90% of our yearly turnover is made on export markets, with more than 2/3 of our satellite telecommunication customers being located outside Europe. Arianespace is proud to be one of the companies contributing to improving the French and the European trade balance. And in addition to the continuous support Arianespace enjoys from its own minister, the Minister for University and Research, Geneviève Furazo, we are grateful to the Ministry for Foreign Trade. We are grateful to you, Nicole Brick, for your support. Through COFAS, it has always been possible to propose the best financing solutions to our customers. I now will leave the floor to Our Excellency Dr. Essa Al-Jaber, to our customers, representatives, and to Minister Nicole Brick, to CNES as well. Before doing so, let me send my greetings to all French Guiana elected representatives who are attending tonight's launch with us. Without your support, our activity on site would not be possible for the benefit of Arianespace, for the European launch industry, and for the benefit of French Guiana local economy. Thank you for your attention. Bravo to all people involved and all team involved in tonight's success. Once again, Arianespace and its partners worldwide have made a difference. Thank you very much.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Madam Minister, dear guest, it's a truly pleasure to be here with all of you today as we witness the launch of our very first national satellite, SHALE-1. It's extremely important for Qatar and the rest of the Arab world to have increased capacity in broadcast and to increase the connectivity. All of this would not have been possible without the clear vision of our leadership, the Emir of the State of Qatar, His Highness Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani, and the father Emir, His Highness Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani. And today we are all proud to witness the cornerstone of this vision come true. I would like also to extend my great gratitude for the successful launch to everybody present here. I think this could not be happen without, I will start with EUTELSAT communication. I know, Michelle, we had a lot of fight, you had given us very hard time, but today it's worth every one of our fights. So thank you, EUTELSAT. I'd like to thank Airspace. I know that we debated when we thought, are we going to go with you or to go with your other competitors? And I think we had made the right choice. So thank you for making it a successful one. I'd like to thank also ISRO Satellite Center. And I'd like to thank most of all SHALE team. I'd like to thank the 4 young engineers that they came. I don't know where are they now. Mohammed Al-Lemi, Mohammed Sayed, Ibrahim, and Thani. I still remember first day I met you more than 2 years ago, and when you just joined SHALE-SAT, and when I saw you yesterday, I really felt proud of what you had done, and this could not be happened without our CEO. I think, Ali, you did great work. I think you wanted to do a lot, so thank you for all the work. I really thank you. Without the support of all the people I mentioned, and without the technical support of Jack, I know, Jack, you were very good in giving us hard time, but at least now it was successful, so thank you. And for all the operational excellence that we had, we could not have been where we are, so thank you a lot. SHALE-1 is the first step in our strategy to enhancing availability and quality communication services in the region. This means more TV channel choices and cable provide option in Qatar. This also means ensuring Qatar commitment to meeting the sophisticated broadcast need required to host FIFA World 2022. Launching satellite is no small task. I saw it today. I always thought that it's something simple because in paper look very simple. But today I realize how much that it's a very complicated process. And I am pleased that this vision has become reality. I'm sure we can create even more exciting changes to develop Qatar into regional center of excellence of a sustainable national satellite industry. We have already taken additional steps, including the recent acquisition of more frequency to further our agenda. Our next satellite, SHALE-2, will be fully controlled from Qatar. And I'm looking now also to explore another option for SHALE-3 as the neighborhood of 7 West. That will be SHALE-3, that's where we are going with EUTELSAT. And I'm counting on the Madam Minister to help us to convince EUTELSAT to just start this. I'm looking forward to creating more exciting changes and making technology and even more empowering sources of the people of Qatar. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for, I know you don't hear me, but thank you for all the work that they did. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. First of all, just allowed me to say some few words in Arabic. أبارك لكم وللشعب والحكومة هذا الإنجاز. بدون جهودكم ما راح يتحقق وبدون جيتكم ودعمكم هني هذه نفتخر فيها كلنا. So, Your Excellency, Ms. Nicole Brick, Your Excellency, Dr. Hissa Al-Jaber, distinguished guests and colleagues, with the successful launch of SHALE-1, I am delighted at the prospect of meeting the requirement of our key national stakeholders and make of SHALESAT a regional operator to reckon with. Unlike any of the already established satellite regional operator, we have had a double challenge to overcome. Not only we have had to build this strong partnership with EUTELSAT, SSL, and Arianespace, to reach this successful launch today, but we also had the tremendous skills to build a company from scratch. And it is only this context that you would understand the challenge that we had to overcome and the value that our partners have brought to this successful enterprise. And so my congratulations go first to all to those who made this happen, and in particular to the leadership of the State of Qatar and to all Qataris who are staying for long delay and late night to witness the launch of SHALE-1 today. But today is Arianespace Day, and thank you, Stefan, and your team for the successful launch. SHALE-1 will meet our immediate demand and is already a milestone in the development of SHALESAT. But there is more to SHALESAT and to Qatar ambitions in space. As Dr. Hassa mentioned, SHALE-2, our next satellite, is already a work in progress, and we intend that the two satellites help make of 26 East direct to home broadcast neighborhood the premier hotspot in the Middle East and North Africa region. So for now, we look forward to a successful satellite deployment and in orbit testing so that we can also congratulate SSL without any reservation. As for EUTELSAT, our partnership is clear, will not end. Dr. Hassa mentioned that SHALE-3 will be 7 West, 8 West, so we are ready for the next opportunity, and we would like to be working closely in SHALE-1 and the developing of other opportunity as arise. So everyone, thank you and wish you a great day, and I would like to thank all the people in Qatar for the successful launch of SHALE-1. Thank you.
My name is Michel de Rosen. I'm the CEO of EUTELSAT, and I will try and be brief in my comments. The first comment is we all feel better. Before we're all tense, and now we feel better. The next comment is to say our gratefulness to Arianespace. Arianespace has not only a great launcher, Ariane 5 is today the best launcher in the world, but also a great team of people who work day and night to provide extraordinary service to its customers. EUTELSAT started working with Arianespace 30 years ago, and this was in fact the beginning of EUTELSAT. It was our first launch. And in that spirit, this is where I need, where is my colleague Johan Leroy? Here, Johan. I've asked a French artist called Pierre Wiazemski, who is known under the name Viaz, to paint a special painting to illustrate the fact that this is the 30th anniversary of our collaboration. So, Johan, if you take, if you can give this to Stéphane. Well, Stéphane, here you are. And there are numbers on this present. Number 1, we're giving to you, Stéphane. Number 2, we're giving to Dr. Al-Jaber. And number 3, we're giving to Dr. Brick. So if you, but maybe you should open it because show it, it's quite artistic, okay? And I hope you will like it. And it is a bit protected. So I want to say something else. Stéphane, you are the new, so yes, you can show, I don't know if there is a camera. You see a launcher, and then you see like a bouquet of satellites, okay? Which again is the artist's view of many launchers and a very long-standing collaboration, okay? Now, I'd like to add a comment on Stéphane. Stéphane has become CEO of Arianespace only a few months ago, after the very well-known and highly respected Jean-Yves Le Gall, now head of CNES. And I was very impressed because Stéphane used to work for the French government, and I can say this as a Frenchman. French people have sometimes a reputation of being arrogant, and sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's true. Well, Stéphane is not arrogant, and his first move when he became head of Arianespace was to go and see his customers, go and see us, go and see the other customers, and listen and ask what we want, etc., etc. So the attitude is exactly the right one, and I'm sure that you will be as successful as the new king of Arianespace as your predecessor has been for many years, Stéphane. Now, Dr. Al-Jaber, also called Dr. Hesse and now called Your Excellency. It's difficult to say, but I learned. We started this collaboration a few years ago. It was a long negotiation, and when the negotiation was finished and the contract was signed, I thought we were done, but we were never done, because you immediately said that you wanted more than what was in the contract. You wanted that we expand to 7 degrees west. So I have to be grateful to you because you did put trust in our collaboration, and without your involvement, and you remember that there were some enemies who tried to make our negotiations more difficult. Without your trust, we would never have signed the contract. There would not be this satellite. So the present I have for you is a very different one aside from this one. Americans pretend that they were the first people on the moon, with Mr. Armstrong. In reality, it's a European citizen who was the first on the moon, called Tintin. And so if you can Johan, this is a model, could you give? A model of the rocket of Tintin, which I would like you keep in your office so that when you have visitors in your government office, you can tell people that Europe was on the moon before America, okay? Okay. So, Ali, my gratefulness also goes to you because you were very patient with EUTELSAT, and we all respect you. You are energetic, you are intelligent, you have natural leadership skills, and we are convinced, I'm convinced that you will take your new Qatari company to a very high level of success. So for you, I have two special presents, different ones. The first present I will give you when we go to the dinner of tonight. We asked the appropriate international authorities to dedicate a star to EUTELSAT. So there is a star. I'll give you the official document. This is serious. It's not like this rocket, which is, of course, humor. There is a star that is now dedicated to EUTELSAT, to Qatar, and you will have the official document. And I thought that was a good symbol of what we are doing, of what Qatar is doing, which is to go to space. And then the second present that Johan will give you now is an English version translation of the memoirs of General de Gaulle. This is what he wrote about World War II, when he was nearly alone in London, and then a bit more people, but he faced extraordinary challenges. And he never gave up. He never gave up. And just like you have to build from scratch an organization that one day will be very large, very international, and very powerful. But you need the main quality, which is one of your great qualities, of will and doggedness and tenacity. And so de Gaulle is the greatest Frenchman of the 20th century. And I think the book, you will like it. It may give you ideas on how to succeed in your fantastic project. These are the comments I wanted to make. And again, to all Arianespace and CNES, thank you. And to Tintin, congratulations. Okay?
On behalf of the Government of India, I wanted to thank Arianespace, Stephen Israel, CNES, the European Space Agency for their various roles in enabling a successful event today. And I would also particularly like to thank my colleagues from ISRO, Dr. Shiv Kumar and his team, people who came here a few days ago, and others who have been here for more than 45 days, working to make another contribution to technological advancement of India and to contribution to societal development, to a communications revolution in India. So the work that they have done has, in a continuing way, enabled government and the people of India to be proud of what they're doing. The event today is also a reflection of the strategic partnership between India and France. As Stefan mentioned, in the area of space, we've been partnering for more than 30 years, and this is the 17th launch here. And it's not just that we are launching our satellites from Kourou, but also French satellites have been launched from India, and we have done joint Indian and French satellites. And it is only a part of the wider cooperation between our two countries. In that context, I would like to thank the Honorable Minister of Foreign Trade, Madame Nicole Briggs, for being here, and all the work you have been doing to further strengthen relations between our two countries. So thank you for that. I wanted to take this opportunity also to congratulate the government of Qatar on their immense achievement and wish you the best for the future, and of course also EUTELSAT and all their partners and collaborators. Thank you very much.
evening to all of you. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very happy today because we got one more satellite correctly placed in orbit. Congratulations to Arianespace for having done such an excellent job. On behalf of Government of India, on behalf of ISRO and all my colleagues at ISRO, Chairman ISRO and all my colleagues here, we thank Arianespace and of course rest of the people who worked for this mission in placing our satellite in the correct orbit and giving us the right start for the mission. In fact, the update is that whatever one person was asking today, that's saying that you're deploying solar panels so quickly. Yes, we are doing that. Within 20 seconds from separation from the launch vehicle, we deployed the solar panel correctly, and that's working very well. That's the update from the control center. And of course, we have to do a lot of things. We should do I think, in about weeks' time for us to really get on to the payload operations. Things went on very well for us at this Kourou Space Center, and our people enjoyed their stay here. They did work very well and fund the technical cooperation from Arianespace for having really placed us in the right right spirit and then right condition, I should say. And they really are very grateful to Arianespace for whatever that they have done. And at this point of time, I just want to say that, yes, we'll come back to Kourou for probably next launch and the launch later. Once things go well for us, once the approvals are there for us from the right set of people. But all said and done, a good mission to start off. Our GSAT-7 is in the right orbit, and users are really gearing up for using this satellite. In another 2 weeks' time, we'll be able to declare the payload operations successful, and by the end of September, we should be able to really give it to the users for them to really use it. So all said and done, work has well begun, and it's just giving us the right push for us to really think for doing something more for our country. All said and done, these things do help India quite a lot, because all said and done, satellites make a difference for us, and we have made a difference for the society, and they have understood it quite well, and we continue to do that. And thank you very much, all of you, for having supported us quite well. Thank you.
Yeah, dear ministers, ladies and gentlemen, I will be very brief, if I may. Thank you, first of all, for all our customers to be here today. We are very proud that we were once again trusted by EUTELSAT, of course, by our friends from Qatar. We were very impressed by their enthusiasm just after the launch a few minutes ago, when we all of us celebrated the success of the launch of tonight. Thank you very much to our ISRO colleagues to be here once again. They were already 1 month ago here during the last launch. As it was said, we have also long-standing cooperation with them in the field of Earth observation, and we are very proud to be able to monitor such a cooperation with them. Mais ce que je voudrais dire aussi, c'est bravo, bien sûr, à Arianespace.
What I'd also like to say is well done to Arianespace, dear Stefan, and all of your teams. Well done to the industry involved, 57 consecutive launches in 10 years. That's quite a feat, and I think it's something we can be proud of. Obviously, I hope it's going to continue, and as you said, Stefan, we'll be doing everything. The ESA teams, CNES teams, Arianespace, industrial teams, everyone will be doing everything to make sure that this success continues. We have to be very vigilant and rigorous, extremely rigorous when it comes to quality, something we were talking about with Michel de Rosen from EUTELSAT this morning. I mean, it's a risky business, and we know that, and we have to make sure that all of our quality, production and operation procedures are extremely rigorous and as perfect as possible, and that's certainly what we try to do. I'd also like to say congratulations to the CSG and its teams, people from the CNES, but also those from industry. Well done to the CSG for being so available, so efficient. We've just had 4 launches in 3 months, and they've all been very impressive. We had one with Soyuz, one with Ariane and the ATV, the automated transfer vehicle, also AlphaSat. It's a very large satellite involving significant telecoms innovations, and also this of this evening, the launch of this evening. So well done to the CSG for having been so effective and efficient and available. Well done also to the teams who, over the month of August, have been working hard. Stéphane, you made that point. They have been working hard to deal with the problem of the flame duct. It had to be repaired. We had people involved in that work here on site. Ariane, which is the subsidiary of Vinci in French Guiana. I mean, it's important to have significant French companies and their subsidiaries here, because very often there has to be a very rapid intervention. And thank you, Minister. Nicole Bric, Minister for Foreign Trade in France, thank you for being with us this evening. That shows, once again, that space is one of France's ambitions. It has been for a good 50 years. I mean, Michel de Rosen was referring to General de Gaulle in his memoirs, and he was concerned with this as well. You can see that we are constantly concerned with this. We think that we're one of the locomotives of Europe. So many thanks to you, and also thanks to the government. We appreciate the fact that you're here, because it goes to show how attached the French government is to French Guiana, because it's the site, the hosting site for the CSG. And I'd like to take this opportunity, obviously, to say hello to all of the local representatives here, the prefect, the elected representatives, and the people who are outside in Sina-Marie and Cayenne, watching all of this on giant screens. And we want the CSG to be the space center for all people living here in French Guiana. So it's a great honor now, Minister, for me to give you the floor.
Madame la Ministre
Minister Al-Jaber, Excellencies, Ambassador for India, Ambassador for Qatar, Members of Parliament, elected representatives of the regional authorities. Stéphane, you invited me and I came. I saw. What did I see? I saw the success of all of the teams involved. We're talking here about an area of excellence, space activity. We're talking about a significant European aeronautics activity and company, and we also have a significant space company in France and Europe. And there are actually not as many of them as that. And that is really why I wanted to make that point. Arianespace has launched more than half of telecoms commercial satellites that are in operation throughout the world. Arianespace is a global leader, and over the last 10 years, it hasn't had a single failure. It's a real success story. Stéphane, you're very fortunate. You're very fortunate to be in charge of such a tool. And EUTELSAT is also the result of European resolve. You're the 3rd global telecoms operator. You've just succeeded again with an acquisition in Mexico. And I'd also like to say, even though they've not been involved in this evening's launch, that our 2 manufacturers, Astrium, and I went to see them in Madrid at the end of last year, and Thales, Arianespace, make up some 20% of the global market. Minister, Excellencies, you can see that your satellites are in very good hands. They're in very safe hands. I would very much like to say, particularly to the residents of French Guiana who are here this evening, that for us, the space sector is a pool for employment. There are some 12,000 jobs in space in France. Of these, some 1,500 are direct jobs in French Guiana. Some 50% of its activities our export activities. And the turnover figures are highly significant. If you take a look at the figures for 2012, we can see this, and you can see how important this space business is to us. Now, I realize this in hearing the speeches that were made just before me. This success, there's no denying it, is the fruit of a trusting relationship that we have seen develop with the customers. And sometimes it's not just a trusting relationship, but a real friendship. Arianespace has launched all of the 17 commercial satellites for India. This is in the context of an exemplary partnership it enjoys with ISRO. ISRO is one of the major world players in space. Today, Minister, ambassadors, dear Qatari friends, I have to say how proud I am to see that Arianespace has launched the first commercial satellite for Qatar. And I saw just before, when you were there with your TV teams, that you are so happy to have seen this launch. I really want to acknowledge this tremendous success. I've been to your country twice. Last year, I accompanied the President of the Republic, and I am sure that he was closely monitoring this success tonight. Now, I'm looking for you over there. Yes, you reminded me that the government is providing full support to this sector in the area of research and development, carried out by the CNES, and you know that the future investment plan will provide an extra funding to this research and development activity. And you've already made this point, and I'd like to thank you for that. There's also what is provided through the COFAS. We're talking about 5 billion euros. And it's true that the space industry is the third user after aeronautical activities and defense of the credit insurance scheme that we have. So there is support that's given, but there's a reward that comes, because the companies working in the sector have posted tremendous success over the summer in Abu Dhabi, in Russia and Brazil, and in the neighboring country to French Guiana, Brazil. We can say that it's becoming a serious partner in space activity. This evening's launch concludes a tremendous summer period that we've enjoyed, because French companies have performed brilliantly, as you've already recalled. And I can tell you that they represent the strengths of France, its innovative capabilities, its ability to develop programs. And I'd like to acknowledge all of the engineers who are here this evening, who are still closely following what's going on. And I know that this is the 215th, so some people might become blasé as a result. But I am sure that in this long success story, this success is once again a way of breaking through further frontiers in space. So there's this innovative capability, engineering, projects. That's what France is all about. And we have to say that, whether we're saying it in French or in English. And I have to say that I appreciate your humor, Mr. de Rosen. You got a rocket, and I was just actually telling one of my neighbors that I gave one of my grandsons a similar rocket. They come in all shapes and sizes, even giant ones. So let me conclude following this success. Long live Ariane, long live India, long live Qatar, long live European ambition for space, and long live France.
So I think it's time to conclude. Maybe in French, I don't know. I will try to speak French. It's easier for me than to speak English. But I think everybody has guessed that I was French as a result of my accent. No, so just thank you one more time to all the VIP present with us tonight. It's really a great honor. Thanks to the ministers, the ambassadors, the CEO. Thank you very much. Just to say that, as we say, the show must go on. And so we will go on with Soyuz in Guyana. Soyuz end September for O3B, which is about bringing internet connectivity to the 3 other billion living close to equator. And Soyuz after, in November, later on in November, with for ESA with Gaia, which is a very important satellite for space exploration. So thank you very much to everybody. And now, que la fête commence. Merci beaucoup, Madame la Ministre. Merci, Madame la Ministre.
The show must go on. Thank you, ministers. Have a good evening.
Well, all we have left to do is to say goodbye. We'll give you some final shots of a launch replay, perhaps from another angle. And we'll say until next time. But first, any last words?
A few ones. This is one more night. We won't forget that now we're going to get drenched by the champagne shower. So make it pop and let the party rock.
Let the party rock. Okay, that'll do it from us from French Guiana, where Ariane 5 has once again delivered 2 new satellites beginning life. EUTELSAT 25B, SH1, and GSAT-7. That makes 57 straight successful launches for the European vehicle, Ariane 5. Congratulations to everybody who played a part. The next launch, as Stéphane Israel said, at the end of September. We will be here. We hope you will be too. So till then, Joshua Jampel here with Antoine Courtois, and thanks for being with us. We hope you enjoyed it, and we look forward to being with you next time. Good day, everybody.
Thank you and goodbye.